Separate realms of the same phenomena, two separate realms of the same phenomena. He was continuing the same question, next part. He was aware of the politics of policy and also the administration of policy at the same time. So now we'll try to answer this. Wilson had, like we have already talked about, that there were alternative models. Van Riper had talked about various other ways of interpreting politics and administration relationship. Notes इनसे ले लेना, right? So they had different alternative ways of looking at this relationship. But Wilson's idea was very clear that it is administration because of which the society is suffering. Right? Or maybe politics is not allowing the administration to function properly, and that is why society is suffering. So Wilson क्या reform चाहता था? Was Wilson trying to bring reforms?
Yes, sir.
क्या मत है आपका? सही? कैसे? Well, enjoy ProdEgy. Don't be so serious. How he wanted reforms? He wanted some changes. What changes? ये तो बहुत बड़ा वर्ड हो गया ना, हैवी वर्ड हो गया. हमें सिंपल चीज चाहिए.
सर जो टेक्निक्स है यूरोप से वो ले सकते हैं, एंड देन बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बिजनेस जैसा होना चाहिए. एंड
तो सबसे बड़ा रिफॉर्म कहाँ? Where the reform will come?
कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल
Correct.
सेफ करना.
He wanted constitutional reforms. That how will administration enjoy that autonomy? How will it get the kind of freedom I want? Right? So if you want to develop a science of administration, you can write a book on administration. ठीक है? Right? अब how effectively that book will be implemented, ये भी तो चाहिए. सिर्फ आपने किताब लिख दी भाई ProdEgy, but how to implement that ProdEgy, ये भी तो important है. So implement करने के लिए the existing system has to transform, ये तो चाहिए. उसको चेंज होना पड़ेगा ना भाई, जो ऑलरेडी है. दैट इज व्हाट ही इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग. ये तो ऑलरेडी है. द लेजिस्लेटिव डोमिनेंस, द पॉलिटिकल डोमिनेंस ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज ऑलरेडी देयर. सो हाउ डू वी मेक दिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन मोर इफेक्टिव? ओनली बाय लिमिटिंग द पावर ऑफ द पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. तो ये पावर तो ऐसे तो मोदी जी के कहने से तो हो नहीं जाएगा. नहीं हो जाएगा, हो सकता है 2-4 साल बाद, राइट? नेक्स्ट इलेक्शन के बाद हो सकता है ऐसा हो जाए, राइट? बट हाँ, केजरीवाल के कहने से तो नहीं होगा. सो लॉजिकली वी कैन से दैट if the people just want, if some scholar wants to do it, he cannot do it. He can only suggest it. So Wilson was a reformer, no doubt. Right? His basic idea was that there is a need to reform the constitution so that there could be almost an equivalent status of politics and administration. And why he was proposing this reform? Because he wanted to borrow the ideas from the European context. तो फ्रांस और जर्मनी के जो भी मॉडल्स थे, he wanted to implement it here, right? But he knew that initially he did not understand that okay, this implementation is not easy. Fine? आप आपके भाई की टी शर्ट आप पहन सकते हो तब तक जब तक आपका भाई आपके साइज का है. Fine? So if we say कि भाई you are borrowing something and using it, right? So you can use it only to the extent that it is compatible with your system. So initially he did not realize it. Later on he understood that if I borrow the techniques, right? These techniques are based on what? sorry, they are based on their political and cultural model, right? Those techniques are created to serve their society, not our society. So he talks about cultural lens, कि भाई this will be filtered through the cultural lens of democracy and then it will be implemented. So अब विल्सन क्या है? So he was aware. हमने क्वेश्चन क्या लिखा कि भाई he considered politics and administration as separate realm of the same phenomena. What is the same phenomena? Public policy. Correct? तो ये ठीक है. So if you have to summarize Wilson's vision. Is it raining or what? It is. It's raining or Indra Bhagwan directly is jumping on this board. Fine. So Wilson's vision क्या है? We need to summarize. New approach to borrow. So second vision था comparative study होना चाहिए. There is a need for comparative study. New approach to borrow transnational, transcultural knowledge. So can we say that Wilson somewhere criticized the idea of ethnocentrism, right? To an extent, he discards ethnocentrism. At least, you know what is ethnocentrism? क्या है? मैं अच्छा हूँ, मैं ही अच्छा हूँ, मुझसे अच्छा कोई नहीं, मैं बोलता रहता हूँ ऐसे. But just to motivate myself, right? तुम्हें भी बोलना चाहिए अगर IAS बनना है, कुछ भी बनना है, whatever. Fine. You simply cannot demoralize yourself. Right? So ethnocentrism is the idea where you believe that whatever knowledge or whatever ideas you are talking about, they are universally acceptable. So somewhere you have biasness towards your own culture and its impact or its use in any other culture. So you are treating everyone else inferior compared to yours. Right? So जितने भी Western scholars थे, all the Western scholars developed the knowledge and they believed that this knowledge would be applicable to all the countries or all non-Western countries of the world. तो ये ethnocentrism है. You are too obsessed with the knowledge which was created in your culture and believe that it will be applicable to any other culture. ये ethnocentrism. So Wilson में कम दिखता है because he somewhere believes that we can borrow the knowledge from others and we should use it. तो कहीं ना कहीं उसने अपने जो सोसाइटी है, कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम है, he felt that that is not capable, right? Or that has certain limitations which can be overcome by borrowing knowledge from the other country. So somewhere he was open to ideas and change. Are you understanding? So he did not have that kind of ethnocentrism. Okay. Third, democratic conservatism. अब ये क्या आइडिया है? सी सप्रू एंड सप्रू. When you read Sapru and not just Prasad and Prasad, so Sapru में they have highlighted this point that Wilson's vision included a philosophical idea of democratic conservatism. What is it? You are literally implying the meaning, no? Hello, dictionary meaning type. No, he was not very much positive about democracy. He believed that democracy somewhere has lot of superiority complex. It believes it is the best system. It believes it is the most efficient, most public spirited system in the world. तो बोलता है कि जितनी भी डेमोक्रेसीज हैं, दे कम विथ इनहेरेंट बायसनेस. उनकी अपनी बायसनेस है कि भाई डेमोक्रेसी में डेमोक्रेटिक एलिमेंट्स डोमिनेंट होने चाहिए. आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग? नहीं समझ में आ रहा? If you don't understand, just tell me, right? What is the drawback of democracy? Is it the existence of democracy, right? Or it is the excess of democracy? तो इसका जो व्यू था वो कंजर्वेटिव था रिगार्डिंग डेमोक्रेसी, राइट? ही वॉज नॉट वेरी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक अबाउट डेमोक्रेसी. वाई? ही कम्स, सो ही सेज कि भाई डेमोक्रेसीज बिगेस्ट फियर is not lack of democracy but excess of democracy. So biggest fear of democracy is excess of democracy. How it is visible? So he says it is visible in the form of multitudinous monarchy. Multi-party public opinion, multiple views, we have to accommodate them all. It's very difficult, no? If you start hearing everybody's voice, how will you make decisions? So democracy का drawback ही है that it allows each and every type of public opinion to flourish, to grow in the political system, right? So there are thousands of parties, right? अब thousands of parties हैं, उनके अपने अपने views हैं. Every party is formed on some ideological basis. Now imagine how can a democratic system or how can a government, right, include all these voices while it is making policies? कैसे बना सकते हैं? So Wilson बोलते हैं कि भाई this multitudinous monarch is the public opinion. And this is a big problem because bureaucracy, administration cannot be subjected to this opinion. But because politics is subjected to this opinion and administration is the servant or you can say the instrument of politics, तो ultimately वो बोलता है कि because of this kind of politics, multiple voices, political parties, ideology, regional parties, national parties, state parties, local parties, वो बोलता है कि क्या होता है? Administration suffers inefficiency because it will have to cater to all this. Coalition politics एक perfect example है. Fine है कि नहीं भाई? We have jumbo coalitions today. How difficult it is to govern, see? Everybody wants something. Farmers want something, corporates want something else, big farmers want something else and small farmers want something else. अब कोई ऐसा डिसीजन हो सकता है जो सबको सेटिस्फाई कर सके? नहीं कर. मल्टीट्यूडनस मोनार्क जिसके इतने सारे सर हैं, रावण हैं, आदि पुरुष वाला नहीं, तो अपना ओरिजिनल रावण जो है. फाइन. सो ये मल्टीट्यूडनस मोनार्क एंड दैट इज व्हाई ही सेइंग देयर इज एक्सेस ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी बिकॉज इतने डेमोक्रेटिक एलिमेंट्स, इतनी वाइब्रेंसी है दैट इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू गवर्न. सो ही सेज दैट इट इज easy to govern in a monarchy. That is why he prefers the European system. He says it is easy to govern in a monarchy than a democracy. Easy to govern in a monarchy than in a democracy, right? But he also believes that yes, today it is not possible to follow monarchy, right? Because people obviously are more aware. तो ये भी एक उसका विजन था कि भाई कैसे, how can we reduce this excess of democracy, this multiple public opinion and reduce or protect the administration from this. तो ये भी fine. So see, so three aspects you have: constitutional reform, comparative study, democratic conservatism, right? Then see, constitutionalism. You might not have thought about it, or maybe thought about it. Constitutionalism. How constitutionalism is an aspect of Wilson's vision.
So constitution limits the power of the politicians. That's what.
Correct.
They won't interfere in the.
Or people have criticized Wilson that he wanted to give more autonomy and authority to administration. He's saying no. I am giving them power not to become arbitrary, but I am giving them authority or power to make or do things in the society. So he's saying, जो power हम administration को देंगे, the same power will also regulate the work of the administration, right? Just like RTI. So you are free to give information for the first 30 days. In the first 30 days you don't give the information, then it will be reviewed by your senior. If you again don't give the information over a period of time, then you can go for appeal to the State Information Commission. That means the same law which authorizes the dissemination of information to the people, the same law also controls the behavior of the public servant. तो वो कहता है कि मैं अथॉरिटी इसलिए नहीं देना चाहता कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन स्ट्रांग हो जाए, मैं इसलिए देना चाहता हूँ कि वो लोगों के लिए इफेक्टिवली काम कर सके. सी, so in his idea of increasing the power of administration, right, there was inherent idea of controlling the administration itself. So see, he was talking about both autonomy must be reinforced with autonomy must be reinforced with accountability. Constitutionalism का आइडिया क्या है भाई? तो हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि भाई Wilson's idea of dichotomy or separation of politics from administration was based on the vision of constitutionalism. वो ये कहीं नहीं बोलता था कि भाई एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को इतना पावरफुल बना दो, है, don't make administration so powerful that it is going to affect negatively the society. Right? So that was not his idea. Are you getting this point? So he was not of the view that give authority to administration so it can do whatever it wants. No. Neither he was criticizing the political control of admin. He's saying the administration will become accountable. It will be made accountable when you give it authority. Right? So obviously your functions or your role in the society cannot be increased without giving authority, right? But authority must not lead to misuse. That is what he is trying to say. So constitutionalism as an idea is inherent in Wilson's logic. हम क्या कर रहे हैं? विल्सन के बारे में अच्छी अच्छी बातें कर रहे हैं. We are interpreting, right? And obviously we are not interpreting ourselves, right? We are interpreting what scholars have said. So 2007 में डेविड हेल्ड एक स्कॉलर है, उसने रीविजिट किया विल्सन को, फाइन. देन देयर इज अनदर स्कॉलर स्टीवर, दे रीविजिटेड विल्सन, राइट. देयर इज अ बुक by Mohit Bhattacharya only, perspectives, new perspectives on public administration. So they have talked about these ideas that when we revisit the Wilson, we realize that his idea of promoting or his idea of separating administration from politics was not based on administrative, freedom devoid of political control. It was somewhere based on the idea of administration or administration having the authority and at the same time administration becoming more accountable for that authority. कैसे? Because now the authority will be given through the constitution. It will not be delegated by the political system. तो पहले आपको मिनिस्टर अथॉरिटी देता है, या गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटी देती है, अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देगा. सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इटसेल्फ विल लिमिट द पावर ऑफ योर अथॉरिटी और द स्कोप ऑफ योर अथॉरिटी.
सर फिर ये तो फुल ऑर्गन ऑफ स्टेट हो जाएगा.
ऑब्वियसली वही तो उसका आइडिया था. दैट वाज हिज आइडिया, जस्ट लाइक द यूरोपियन मॉडल. फाइन, बट ऑब्वियसली वी शुड नॉट सपोर्ट दैट आइडिया. We are only interpreting what he said. Right? So constitutionalism, this concept is clear to you? Where it is visible? In PubEd, have we talked about this idea? Apart from Indian administration? Wilson? Peter Drucker? No, Paul Appleby. Peter Drucker is an organizational management theorist. Paul Appleby's book, Big Democracy. Right? Then Waldo. Waldo has talked about constitutionalism. Right? Foley. When Foley talks about the state and organization as two similar entities, Foley is not specifically talking about business administration. She is talking about society, politics and business at the same time. So her ideas are very seamlessly moving from here to there. कब वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की बात कर रही है, कब वो पॉलिटिक्स की बात कर रही है, कब वो बिजनेस की बात कर रही है, क्लियर नहीं है. दैट इज व्हाट बर्नार्ड हैज क्रिटिसाइज्ड हर और सम अदर स्कॉलर्स हैव क्रिटिसाइज्ड हर, राइट? मेटकाल्फ, अर्विक. So they all have talked about somewhere this, right? But they have not specifically mentioned this idea. So constitutionalism is inherent to the idea of Wilson's separation of politics and administration. Next, right? So retreat of dichotomy. Now we are taking this also as one of the aspects of his vision, because later on he comes back to his idea, right, or discards his own idea, right. So what he does, once he discards the dichotomy or separation, right, so he says we must have an organic view of the state. So we must have an organic view of state, and by what is organic view of state? State is a living entity, right? It has interdependent parts. That means legislature, executive, judiciary, administration, even if they operate separately, right, they are the ingredients or the inevitable constituents of the state. That is the idea, right? So we must have an organic view of the state, right? That is, politics may be distinct from administration, but cannot be dissociated. It can be distinct from administration but cannot be dissociated. They are part of the same continuum. They are part of the same continuum. Right? So if we say this is state, so he says there is nothing like a watertight compartment between them. They are part of the same continuum. भाई हो सकता है यहाँ पॉलिटिक्स खत्म हो रही हो, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन शुरू हो रहा हो, right? But he says this is not a watertight compartment. There is no boundary wall. There is no fence between them. Right? It is just a seamless relationship. See, example है आपके पास कोई? Higher level administration, right? If I say this is bureaucracy and this is political system, right? So this part of the administration, see, what is the role of a secretary or additional secretary, right? Even people like cabinet secretary, their function is purely political. Most of the time they are involved in policy formulation only, and they hardly are involved in the implementation. This has been highlighted by second ARC as a major drawback of the Secretariat system in India. So you can use the papers to reference also if you want, just for example. So it says major issue with the Secretariat system in India is that the higher level bureaucracy is mostly involved in policy formulation and decision making. So he says they hardly monitor the policies. So joint secretary and below, they are mostly involved in policy monitoring and policy implementation. So says ultimately the policies suffer, because by joint secretary, whatever you say is a senior officer, but he is not the head of the department.
But this is a good thing because they have first worked on the field and right now they are
So where is their experience? This is the problem, you know. You are not getting the point. What he is saying, second ARC is saying that ये जो experience है, this experience must be shared with them, but he is sharing this experience only with them. Right? He has come from the grassroots. So he must be directing, coordinating, monitoring, supervising, and even sharing his knowledge with the lower level officials. But he does not have time. He has given example of chief secretaries and cabinet secretaries that who hardly found time even to see the reports of the departments and ministries. They don't have time. Plus now you have specialists in the system. Then also it is a problem because specialists will.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Deepanka Chatri. I secured rank 42 this time in civil services examination. I just came from one of my assignments. As you can see, I am currently working. I have a morning to evening duty right now, and I'm currently posted in Kerala as an ASP, Assistant Superintendent of Police, under training. So Ashutosh Sir has been, one of the greatest motivators to me during my civil service preparation. I remember when I cleared my IPS, I got into IPS, he was one of the first persons to tell me that you should reappear for this examination, because I had completely given up. After 3 years of such hard work, I was like, I am done. I don't want any part of this anymore. I need to take a break. I need to relax. But I'm very grateful that he motivated me to write this examination again. And I really wish you all the best for all your endeavors. One thing I would want to add about Ashutosh Sir is that my optional was public administration, and public administration got very unique and dicey after post 2012. So Ashutosh Sir was one of the first faculties in New Delhi to get a hold of that new the new pattern in public administration, or the new syllabus, or the hidden syllabus, as many would have called it. So I'm really grateful to him for that. Best of luck to all of you, everyone. Goodbye.